Hey everyone, I'm Zenith Priest, and welcome to my introduction for Ember-Eyed Behemoth, where I will give you insight into the nature of this spirit and show you how to stomp out the invaders by turn 5. Behemoth is an aggressive spirit, extremely focused on smashing things. We start with a sacred site and our Incarna in the highest wetland adjacent to a jungle, and will quickly be spreading to other jungles to solidify our reach. As the behemoth rises, we'll have opportunities to move our Incarna across the island, typically into invaders' territories to deliver crushing defeats. Once our Incarna is empowered, it can be considered a sacred site when convenient. With unrelenting strides, we can use Behemoth Rises a second time if we haven't yet used our innate power. This gives us some extra mobility when deciding where to go to place further presence. We are given 4 growth options to choose from, starting with the standard reclaim, where we also gain a power. Next, we can place 2 presents. The first one can be placed up to 3 away, but has to be in a jungle or in one of our lands. The second one has to be placed with our presence, generally to complete a sacred site wherever we place the first one. Moving our Incarna around gives us access to non-jungle areas, or we can use the third growth option to place a presence close by, while also gaining a power and quite an energy boost. In trade, we'll have to discard one of our fire powers, diminishing our ability to play cards at full capacity. There is a workaround if you don't have any fire powers in hand, including the one you just picked up, giving us a playstyle though more in line with the Sleepy-Eyed Behemoth. Lastly, once per game, we can reclaim all our fire powers and empower our Incarna, potentially moving it to an adjacent land. Per our special rule, our Incarna is now a sacred site, and we'll see in a moment that its empowerment boosts our innate power as well. Our presence tracks are both fairly typical. We see consistent energy gains at each removal, with elements scattered throughout, and after initial boost to card plays, we'll have to work a little harder for more. Our intro build will take advantage of the immediate gains, seeking 2 energy turn 1, then splitting tracks to open up 3 energy and a second card play. Reaching for 4 energy turn 4 will finish the build, setting us up for a major power turn 5 if necessary. We only have 1 innate power, and its purpose is clear: smash, stomp, and flatten. At the highest level, not even the Dahan can escape the sheer destruction we're able to cause. Note that with an empowered Incarna, we're able to repeat this power, with room to push our Incarna in between if we need. Blazing Intimidation is our first unique power, pushing 2 non-city invaders from a nearby land to one without our Incarna. As a fast power, this can stop a build into a new territory, or mitigate incoming ravages. Exaltation of Grasping Roots provides all of our elements, plus Moon, and lets an ally and us add wilds to one of our lands, ensuring untouched lands remain so, or preventing the invaders from sneaking back into areas you've already secured. Note that as a solo player, we will get to add 2 wilds to our lands. Surging Lahar is our only offense card, dealing damage in a land close to a sacred site. With our presence in the target land, we also add Badlands, increasing our damage output there in the future. Finally, Terrifying Rampage paralyzes the invaders and scatters the Dahan, keeping lands safe for now while setting up for counterattacks later. On the whole, we have a pretty aggressive suite of abilities, being able to position our sacred sites and Incarna for maximum damage while keeping the invaders terrified and unable to do anything. Terror level 2 is usually the goal, allowing the occasional stray explorer while mowing down buildings. Let's get into a demo game and see what this looks like. We'll need the Nature Incarnate expansion because of the Incarna, but I've turned the events off to simplify our decisions during play. This gives us access to command beasts, but we won't generally need its use. Alright, let's begin. Turn 1. First thing, we want to establish a sacred site in the jungle that gives us the most reach. Thanks to Terrifying Rampage next turn, we won't need to worry about the town building there. As mentioned, we'll be taking from the top track, giving us enough energy to play Surging Lahar. If the initial town builds a city, the main idea shifts to placing our Incarna there if it's not already, using Surging Lahar to destroy the town and place a Badlands, then smash, stomp, and flatten the city. There is also an aggressive line attack I want to briefly touch on in a moment, but for now, let's cover the more conservative approach, as we're likely to encounter it more frequently. This will see a Surging Lahar destroy the town with Dahan before we smash, stomp, and flatten the wetland town. For Behemoth Rises, consider our next sacred site. We want our Incarna to be in the thick of things, making that city look real tempting. We can't quite get there this turn, but we can be there after next turn's push. Turn 2. After making any final adjustments to our Incarna, place a sacred site there with the second growth option, opening up 3 energy and a second card play. Playing our fast powers, we can proceed. First though, I want to shift back to that hypothetical game where we take a more aggressive approach. Here, we use Surging the Heart to destroy the Lone Explorer and stage our Incarna in B4 after flattening the wetland town. On turn 2, we'll use Blazing Intimidation to vacate the central jungle into the coastal mountain, and Terrifying Rampage will push the upper mountain Dahan up to clear land 8. We'll stay staged in the jungles until the slow phase, where we will stomp the new Explorer wherever it appears, putting us in a really good position for turn 3 wins. There are a couple primary factors that make this possible: the ability to group 3 Dahan into the Ravaging Land, and when the new Explorer builds, the invader's range for exploration isn't extended. We could still take that line regardless, but it won't be as clean as the ideal conditions here. The other consideration is that this line pays for its speed with 2 Blight, putting us right on the edge of blighting the island. Returning to the more conventional and safer approach, we see Blazing Intimidation used to stop B7 from building, and a Terrifying Rampage paralyze the invaders from blighting B4, earning our first Fear card. Dahan Raid destroys the Jungle Explorer before they can attack, and the other invaders find themselves with various afflictions until they explore into the wetlands. On the slow phase, we get to smash, stomp, and flatten the city before time passes. Turn 3. With only our utility card in hand, now is a prime opportunity to use our last growth option, refreshing our hand and unlocking more damage output. If necessary, move our Incarna towards the more established lands before considering power options. To get the higher threshold for Smash, Stomp, and Flatten, we'll need either the fast or slow pair of powers. With 6 Fear left to Terror level 2, and only the 1 wetland problem, we can easily pick the slow powers, allowing the build and cleaning up what we can. Even if there is a land about to blight, I'd still recommend using the slow pair if you feel comfortable, but sometimes that can feel a bit dicey, and the fast powers will still serve us well. A Coastal Explorer can give us pause, but just keep in mind that with the Ember-Eyed Behemoth, we're going to want invaders grouped together, so direct the Surging Lahar towards the sands, then smash, stomp, and flatten the jungle town. Push our Incarna into the wetlands to destroy the town there, earning our second Fear card. Sometimes we'll need to use Exaltation of Grasping Roots before pushing our Incarna to block what we need, but here we're already in position to lock out the lands we want. If playing with allies, we only get 1 wild to place, so pick a land without our Incarna since we can continue smashing what comes up. Turn 4. If we haven't been able to corral all the explorers, then we'll need to let both coastal lands build to hit Terror level 2. This game though, we have an opportunity to wipe out all the invaders, so let's take it. Since we've already established sufficient presence to operate across our board, this turn, as well as back in turn 2, we should be looking to establish presence to help our allies. Since it's just us, we can place another sacred site in the remaining wetlands or jungles. Playing our fast powers, we can terrify the Dahan into the wetlands to clear it and intimidate the mountain explorers to flee into the jungle. Communities in disarray won't have an effect this game, and unless the invaders explore into the sands, we get to clear the jungle explorers and claim victory. Some final thoughts for Ember-Eyed Behemoth. As mentioned in the beginning, this build allows us to grab a major power on turn 5 if necessary. Don't be afraid to follow the invaders further inland with your Incarna. Once it's locked down, you get a free ride back to a more relevant sacred site. While this spirit is very damage heavy, it only comes from 2 powers. The rest gives us a lot of flexibility for tactical considerations. This strategy still works well outside of solo play, just keep in mind we only get 1 Wilds placement with our Exaltation. Finally, the animation for this spirit is positively delightful. Having Ember-Eyed Behemoth visually rampaging across the island is really satisfying. Alright everyone, that's all I've got this time. Hope you gained some insight, and good luck in your next games.